Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon. Today we're looking at an updated Passimian Tapu Koko list. Many people are hyped on this archetype, thinking that its type coverage alone is a massive reason to play the deck. Obviously Passimian being a fighting type means we can try and take on some tag teams, Pikachu Zekrom and Eevee Snorlax being the two most prevalent and popular and hyped cards. Obviously having weakness on those is nice. We technically can one-shot them with the help of Choice Band and Kukui in the same turn. But even just using like flying flips and setting up numbers for the Passimian is going to be very nice for those sorts of matchups. So really trying to prey on the likes of Zoroark and Pikarom is no bad thing. We also have the type covering of Tapu Koko being a lightning type, being very decent against Zapdos players. Having an army of 110 hit point Pokemon can be awkward for them because they require Electro Power to keep knocking us out consistently. And we don't knock out their active because we're using flying flips, so we force them into awkward resource plays in that regard because they need to keep spending switch cards turn by turn by turn. So we're doing great damage on the early Jirachis. We're hitting for weakness on the Zapdos itself, so we're flipping like 3 or 4 times to get knockouts there. And we're really running them dry of resources, whereas most times when other players come up against Zapdos, they're at least taking a knockout on something, which means they can go back into a Jirachi for free and just start using Stellar Wish to get its board state going. We're going to leave the Zapdos active, and it's going to be really awkward for them. So that's the reason why many people are looking at Passimian Koko. There's also this cool new Jirachi build, which we're going to be trying out today. I've got both builds, and I'm trying out both. I think the Magcargo Oranguru build is pretty cool at just grabbing energies very consistently, but it's a little bit weaker against the likes of Zapdos because they're so good at knocking out a Magcargo. Also giving them things like Slugmas gives them easier targets with Guzma to take the cheap prizes, and that can help them in the race. So I feel like the Jirachi build may be the one most people are looking at. My initial thought was to add in Electro Powers into the list to try and improve on that type coverage that we have with the Tapu Koko. Turns out we really don't need it to beat Zapdos. I think we're already frustrating enough for them, and I think that we would rather have extra spaces for Energy Lotos, because after testing this deck, Energy Loto is actually like one of the most important cards we can pick out with a Jirachi to get our energy flowing, because that's always the big headache with Passimian Koko. If they start getting knocked out turn by turn, we need to just recycle energies. So let's talk about the list in more detail. First of all, a 2-2 line of Passimian. The team play attack is the main one we're looking at here, doing 10 plus 30 for each of your bench Passimian, so that caps out 100 with a full bench of Passimian on non-evolving GX Pokemon or non-GX Pokemon. Obviously, the Power Huddle ability helps increase that damage even further against evolutions. But in general, we're not one-shotting regular EX and GXs. That's part of the reason why Tapu Koko's in here. We can do early flying flips to allow the Passimian to get one-shots later, but it's his type covering that is so appealing. Just because we can hit Zoroark and Pikarom means he's really worth considering. We do also have the Fling attack. It does 30 to one of our opponent's bench. We have counter energy in the deck, so you can fling stuff if we want to be trapping things, which we're quite likely to do with Counter Catchers and Guzmas. We could be flying, flipping, or flinging if we really need to pick off something important at the back. So trying to trap things is definitely part of this deck's win condition at times, especially when we're going for the spread approach. The Power Huddle is in here to increase our damage output against evolving Pokemon. So this Passimian effectively counts as 60 damage towards your team play if it's against an evolution. So this is really, really helpful for the damage output. Again, Rock Hurl is an option. We do 40 and it's counter energy-able. So if we need to finish something off, we can use Rock Hurl if we really need to. From there, for Tapu Koko, it has a nice free retreat cost, which is going to be beneficial. And Flying Flip does 20 to each of your opponent's Pokemon. Again, we can set up damage with Passimian. We can just go for a full Flying Flip approach as well. If Passimian doesn't seem to be good, if our opponent's filling their bench, the Tapu Koko is just going to carry us the whole way. This carries us through Zapdos, carries us through Lost March, very good against Gramble. It's good against all sorts of those sorts of decks. So Flying Flip is just excellent for going throughout the entire game if you need to, but also it can just be flip 2 or 3 times into Passimian for one-shots afterwards, because you can catch up on the prize race if you're knocking out GXs turn by turn. So this is really, really helpful and a very annoying card for Zapdos, which is awesome. From there, we are going to try out the new Jirachi build. I'm sure you know what it does by now if you've been studying Team Up at all. You get to look at the top 5 cards, find a trainer, put it into your hand, and then shuffle the rest in, and it goes to sleep. We obviously are playing the escape boards in the deck. We have a relatively high Guzma count as well to try and get procs of this Jirachi. It's going to help us dig into ball search cards in the early game to fill our board of Passimian if we need to, or fill our board with backup attackers with the Kokos. Also, Energy Loto is such a crucial card to dig out of your deck because we really need to find these energy cards as often as possible. It can also make us slightly more consistent at just finding supporter cards to keep us ticking over. So, very, very nice card. And again, similar to Zapdos, where we just have 110 hit point non-GXs in the active, they're going to get knocked out here, there, and everywhere. We can start our turn just by promoting Jirachi, getting an extra few cards here and there. So, very, very nice ability for us here. From there, 2 other one-offs. We're playing 1 copy of the V Beatdown Victini. I like playing this card just because we have otherwise no answer to Celebi Venusaur. Now we have an answer to Celebi Venusaur. We have Rescue Stretcher for this guy and Counter Gain, Counter Energies. So hopefully we can use this in the Celebi Venusaur matchup, which is otherwise abysmal. And the final one-of is going to be used slightly more often. It's a little bit less techy. The Magical Swap is what we use as a finisher alongside our Tapu Kokos, Flying Flip sometimes, just to make sure we're getting numbers in the right place, knocking out all their attackers all in one turn, or taking all 6 prizes in some occasions. So this is a great way to finish the game if we go down the Flying Flip route the entire time. We're using the Psychic one because I think Psywave has more... We have more chance to hit for weakness with Psywave with the Psychic one than the Fairy one. I think we're already very strong against Ray because they seem to be going more towards Turbo Ray builds, which normally fills the bench very, very quickly for the Tapu Koko approach to just work the entire game. So I think we don't really need the Fairy Lele, so I'm going for the Psychic one for some slightly better type coverage in certain situations. Onto the item cards, 2 Counter Catchers to combine with 3 Guzmas I think is plenty of gusting for stalling and also picking off things with our Passimian if we really need to. 3 Rescue Stretchers, we want to recover our Pokemon, whichever one is the most important at the time, as well as Jirachi as well sometimes. 4 copies of Energy Loto. Honestly, I think the card is important enough in this deck to play 4 copies of, even with Jirachi. I think the biggest headache I find is when you just miss the right energy at the right time. So it's great for digging out late game counter energies, great for digging out DC early. It's just really important throughout the game. 4 Nest and 4 Ultra to get into our dudes, as well as help thin the hand as well towards Lilies. 3 copies of Shrine. Just obviously we're a spreading deck. Getting more damage counters on the board that we can play around with Magical Swap is going to be helpful, and it helps put things into range for the Passimian as well. Then we're going to have 2 copies of Kukui. This helps out against one-shotting tag teams if we get the combination of Kukui banned and full board with Passimians. That gets us to 150, and then we can go to 300, which is cool. And we also get a little bit of extra draw here and there. It can also, again, help the Tapu Koko to damage buff to 80 against the Zapdos, which is also pretty reasonable as well. 3 Guzma alongside the Counter Catchers, obviously. 4 Cynthia for Lillie for that draw engine that we're going to be rocking with. 3 bans and 3 escape boards. The boards typically hopping onto the Jirachis, hopping onto Tapu Kokos if you're up against an Absol. And 3 bans just for added damage. Obviously, we're still concerned about the team ups and stuff, so we want to still have bans in here. Although there are a lot of non-GX decks in the format right now, I feel Koko is already strong against Zapdos and Lost March, even with your bans and shrines clogging up the list. As long as we can start thinning them with Ultra Ball, it's not going to be a huge problem, and Jirachi can just thin these naturally from the deck anyway, so it's not a big deal having these sorts of higher counts just because we can pull them out of the deck so freely as well. And then just 8 energy, 4 counter, 4 DCE. That's going to round out the entire deck. There are some cards that we could be considering in the deck. There's going to be 1 GX card that we could be considering is Necrozma GX. If you play DCEs and we could add in Counter Gain, we could go for a Black Ray GX attack to get a huge sweep of damage on the board all at once. Obviously, the big downside is leading this guy. He would be awful, and it also means that it's unlikely for us to get into a Jirachi as well. So we help our opponent in the prize trade, and we can't get into our Jirachi early, which is 2 very big downsides for playing the Necrozma, but it's a huge burst of damage if we really need to. I think my main argument against this card is that against sort of Zoroark and tag team decks, we're already going down the Passimian route, so we don't necessarily need this in those sorts of matchups, whereas like a Psychic Malamar base build would require this. in those sorts of matchups to get the big burst of damage from nowhere. There's not many other Pokemon I would be considering outside of some other counter energy shenanigan cards. The Flippity Flap Shaman has sometimes been in the deck to help out against the likes of Lycanroc, which is still obviously prevalent in Zoroark, so you could be going for that if you really wanted to. It also has the helps you draw cards if you just have nothing else to do. You can just counter energy and Flippity Flap if you really need to. So yeah, there's that. In terms of item cards, I was thinking of playing potentially some Judge Whistle and Judge in the deck. I think it has, you can just thin out the deck a lot more. Maybe if you trim down a Choice Band and a Shrine, even just playing a couple Judge Whistle, cutting a Kukui for a Judge is reasonable. Or cutting one Lillie for a Judge just to have added disruption, make people put down Leles, make people put down Marshadows, fill up their board for you. That's something we could do by trying to disrupt. It also gives us an out, I guess, to mill decks, but not much of one. And the final thing I was thinking about playing was Erica over Kukui or over Lillie, because these aren't the highest value supporters in the sort of mid game. Erica, in theory, could be drawing you a good amount of cards, but when you're playing a spread deck, people are trying to limit their bench whenever possible, so Erica is probably not drawing a lot either. So I think, if anything, we're going to try and work in Judge Whistles to the deck just to help thin and draw more cards turn by turn. I prefer the Whistles to the Acrobikes, because getting rid of your energy cards is just absolutely hideous, so you really don't want that to happen. So if you want to thin out the deck a bit more, you could go for that route. Also playing more supporters could be useful. The only other card that was actually one I was considering was the Wobbuffet, which I've traded over to my other account. The Shady Tail Wob to shut off, Dittos. This could mean it's less likely for Zoroark players to get a muck down against you, or even if they do get a muck down against you, they've had to put down, well, they initially put down the Ditto, you put down Wob, then they have to put down a Grimer. Even that's just more damage for your Flying Flip approach. And this would be really annoying for some other decks that are relying on Koko Prism and stuff like that as well. This could be an annoying card. I think our bench management is quite important in certain matchups. That's why I'm not playing him. Again, he has that annoying to retreat cost, but he could really help out if we're worried about a low and muck hitting the board, because we really don't like Stellar Wish being shut off. We do become quite inconsistent if that's the case. So even though we're a fighting deck, we're not the most consistent against Zoroark players, so do bear that in mind. We're not just going to crush Zoro straight out of the gate. We still need to find ourselves supporter cards, lottos, and make sure we can have enough fuel for the late game. And don't go too crazy going ahead with Passimian. If they can just muck and shut out our counter energies at the same time, they can just start picking off a Passimian each turn, and then our damage output gets very weak because we can't draw many cards. So, quick note to the Magcargo list. I've been trying out both, and the Magcargo is slightly stronger at dealing with Muck, but much weaker at dealing with Zapdos. So if you want to have a better matchup against the Zoro decks, you could go for the Magcargo build. It forces them basically to put Lycanrocs down for gusting. But if you're playing Passimian anyway, they oftentimes have to just hit through the active. And you can get smooth overs. Even if the Oranguru is shut down by the Muck, our deck isn't completely shut down. I am anecdotally playing Acrobikes in here over Judge's Whistle at the moment. There is the small low roll potential of the removing of an extra energy here or there, which is a little bit of a concern, but I like this when we don't have, or when we're getting hit with Muck, it's just some extra protection, some extra draw, which is the Jirachi build is not playing. So if you're worried about lots of Alolan Muck, definitely investigate the Magcargo build. But for today, we're going to try out the new shiny cards. The Jirachi is very cool in the early turns, much stronger than the likes of Oranguru. We just need a Nest Ball to get rolling a lot of the time, especially if we lead Koko. So we actually have like 7 good leads in the deck with the 3 Jirachi and the 4 Kokos themselves. So that's going to be really nice for this deck. Let's get into the ladder and see what sorts of things we're going to come up against. We're looking to face Fighting Week stuff. We're looking to face other non-GX builds. And there aren't a huge amount of bad matchups. But at the same time, Passimian can be very flexible. So we can try and react to whatever our opponent is playing. If it's any sort of evolution deck as well, Passimian can hit good numbers. I'm seeing a fire symbol, so it could be something like Charizard or Magcargo or Blacephalon. Energy Recycler means it's probably Charizard. We need to get the power huddle going. Team player can knock out Charizard turn by turn, so that should be good. Let's draw a card. Yep, it's Zard. Okay, we're going second as well. We already are holding Nestball Kukui, so we can knock out the active straight out the gate, which is going to be cool. And we're just going to be trying to stifle their setup. It'll be interesting to see if they're also Ninetales based or Jirachi based, or how many GXs they put down, basically. Because that will be all good for us as well. I've seen Shintaro's latest build was playing a 3-1 line of alone Ninetales, which is pretty interesting. Look at that beautiful artwork. Okay, yep, they're definitely playing Alolan Tails. Well, definitely playing Beacon at least. He attached to the active. That is brave. That is brave, sir. We're Passimian. Ah, we've prized one. That's going to be awkward. That's another card we could definitely consider in the deck. The Gladion. So, we're going to Kukui. I'm going to Ultra Ball as well, just to have a backup attacker. I don't really feel I need Counter Catcher with me going ahead. We don't currently need Lotto. Yeah, we can toss Lotto. I think I prefer it to tossing Guzma if he's just going to get down one more Charmander and Beacon. Yep, they just can't keep up with team play. Okay. Yep. Alright, let's get another game. Well, we know we can have a decent Charizard matchup. Good to know. Good to know. I do like the versatility of Passimian. Based on whatever we're playing, we can try and react. It's another Charizard deck. What's going on here? There must be some sort of fire quest on or something. Something's happening, anyway. As long as it is Charizard. Going second. I normally like to keep the bench pretty clean because we never know if we want to fill the bench full of Passimian or not. So I'll just do these two for now. And then if we get information from this mulligan, we can make the choice if we want to bench anything else. Yeah, it looks to be another Charizard. Well, Power Huddle's coming down then. We have another nice hand. We have a turn 1 Lillie. And we already have Nest Ball as well. And Ultra Ball. Yep, it's another Zard. Let's go. Well, Power Huddle's good in this matchup. For sure. Attach pass. Okay. Let's get the Passimian army going. We've prized one again, which is a little annoying. Definitely a question mark over if we want to play... If I use Stellar Wish this turn, which I pretty much have to, I think I need to keep the Guzma as an option, because we could Stellar Wish into Lotto and get an attack off this turn. No, I'm always Lilying, right? I'm always using Lele. Yeah, let's not get too greedy. Lily first, then Stellar Wish after. Do I definitely put this into play. Do I Lotto pre-Wish? We need to hit both. We need to hit Lotto and we need to hit Wish to get out of the active as well. So I'm definitely going to fire off the Lotto first. We hit the energy. Now it's if Stellar Wish can hit us the means of retreating. Which it can't do, but we can grab a backup Lotto, I think. We could also... yeah, just a Nest Ball. So we're going to pass here. If he does get the first Charizard knockout, it's going to be a little awkward, especially if he doesn't have to use Roaring Resolve, because then he'll have 150, which is out of Passimian's range. They are going to attach to the active and get a nice Erica for 4, or for 5, sorry. They get Pokecom. This is a telltale sign of a Charizard coming out, especially when a Charmander's going in. It's a real shame that we've prized what we've prized, but oh well. We don't really mind too much going a little bit behind here, because it enables the counter energies to flow better, give us more options. So he is just going to take the knock. With our prizes the way they are, we're only doing 130 with team play, so we've got to do a flying flip this turn. Do I pair it with Guzma? Yes, definitely. Definitely pair it with Guzma, because he could retreat and Roaring Resolve anyway, but at least we force those cards. I can do it with Counter Catcher instead. No, Guzma's better because I can Stellar Wish. Okay. So we're going to do this. Going to retreat. Board is helpful, but I also need a supporter. We don't need the board just yet because we're using this anyway. Let's just get both of these Zards in range for Passimian to just start swinging. Looks like they are playing something similar to Shintaro's builds. Shintaro also played a 1-1 Flareon GX line as a means of using its GX attack for the late game swing. There's the Heat Factory. Charizard number 2 hits the field. I'm going to see some roaring action. Heat Factory. Flipping isn't actually the worst play here because he has to keep damaging himself to attack us. I'm going Koko here because we don't have the guaranteed switch card. Otherwise, it's definitely Jirachi that's the play. We want to thin some cards here before the Cynthia. Could Counter Catcher just to thin it from deck and to. I mean, this is maximizing our Passimian output, keeping more damage on the board, I guess, if we need to flying flip. I'm definitely not stretching yet. Or just Cynthia. We do hit energy, which is nice. Yep. I think we're going to try and just keep the Passimian pressure on. It should be easier for us to chain attacks than for him to. We also want to take prizes to work towards our other Passimian, obviously. He gets everything. He gets the attachment on the bench as well. He knows how to deny our knockouts because he can see our bench is committed. He's going to make us weave in some flying flips for sure, which is a little bit awkward. Yep, continuous blaze ball. Do we? No, we just still going Koko because we don't have the switch card. It's annoying that we can't be doing all the stellar wishing, but I don't want to risk. I think I'm lottoing to try and pull the counter energy out. Get usage out of them while we're behind. So we have DCE for next turn, but we don't have a way of getting another Passimian. So do I just Cynthia, or is my... If he just gets a Charizard response anyway, I need to Guzma Flying Flip regardless. So I think we just hold this hand. Right, we're hoping that we can grab another Passimian out of prizes pretty soon. It's getting a bit yikes. The matchup was otherwise pretty calm. I guess we could definitely consider putting in... Maybe we drop one Lotto for a Gladion. Maybe that's the play. Bill's analysis, looking for some rare candies, no doubt. Some Pokecoms. Well, yep, he found them. Bill's is a nice card when that happens. And Charizard thins the deck of its fires for it, so it makes the build much stronger in the mid to late game. Genuinely a good option in this deck. As like just a 1 or 2 of. Make an Ultra Ball. Get a second Charizard. So is that all 4 candies? It will be all 4 candies. So he needs these 2 Zards to carry. Oh no, because this can get the last prize as well. Okay. Looks like he's got everything he needs to win the game. It looks that way at least. So that's 11 energies gone. We need to Guzma this turn to try and bring this up. Even if he just evolve attacks with Flareon, is that awful for us? Yes, because he has to. But if he GX attacks, then we can go in. Then we could try and 1-bomb this next turn. So I need to keep the bench space open for sure. It's in play, right? Let's use this. This is nice. This ball, we want nothing. We need to keep the space open. 4 backup Passimian. So even energy is going to be hard to come by for him because he's gone through... What was it? Was it 11 that he's gone through? Yeah. Oh, I forgot to Stellar Wish. Whoops. This is Flying Flip. It's going to be rough. There's the Flareon. So trying to target this is our only win condition now. If he gets a energy recycler, we can't win because he can then just power up this Zard. We need to get Gusting cards, so we'll take Jirachi up. We can Cynthia and look for our other Counter Catcher though. I actually should have used the DCE last turn and used the counter this turn. We can stretch her back Passimian. This. We need to hit our Counter Catcher to have any hope of winning here. Oh, it's prized. Yep, we have no chance. I cannot win. Prized Passimian Monka S. Feels bad, man. So, I guess he has a 2 retreat cost, so we just have to flip again, right? He's gone through 9, 10, 11, 12 fire energies. Maybe he can't retreat. Maybe he doesn't have Guzma. How many Guzma played? 1. This is low odds, that's for sure. It's our best move though. Otherwise we just lose on board. Yep, that'll do it. Well, we know that prizing a Passimian is bad against Zard. Prizing a Passimian is bad against all sorts of decks, to be honest. I should work in the Gladion. Should I make that change now? This is the late change for you guys who stayed. We're doing. I don't think I've done this before. I don't think I've changed a card while I've been in a video before. I've sort of discussed cards that could have changed, but I've never pulled the trigger. Let's do it. We're putting in Gladion. It should have been in here to start with. Let's put him in. It's extra good in a deck that spreads anyway, because we can't access our prizes in some matchups. It's an extra supporter, and we were just sat on supporters the whole time, so weaving in the Gladion shouldn't be too hard. Let's get one more game in. So far, 2 Charizard matchups. One was just a Passimian attack, we won, and one was, whoops, prizing. Okay. Go in first. We'll just lead the Koko. Free retreater. Nothing really going on in this hand. See another evolution deck. Oh, hey Gladion. You might be really helpful here. So, we are a reaction deck, so we don't really know what he's doing other than evolving stuff. If we know he's evolving stuff, we know he's kind of board-centric, so it means he's going to be filling up his board, but also Passimian could be powerful. The one thing I know about these sorts of beacon decks, though, they're probably not playing Let Loose, so we can actually just hold a lot of basics here, which could be very good for us. Ultra Ball for Jirachi to get us into some better cards. These are some pretty reasonable prizes, to be honest. I don't mind this a lot. The couple shrines is a bit awkward to keep an eye out for, but that's really about it. I think we just bench a Koko and pass. We can Ultra Ball for a Jirachi and just hope to hit a better supporter for next turn. But that means we need to find a new switch card anyway. So it kind of pigeonholes us. Let's just pass. We want to react to him. And because we see a beacon, it means he's probably not letting loose. Okay, so it looks like it's a God of War deck. Good thing we didn't commit our bench. Yep, definitely Guardy. We want to see them Lele for Elm or something like that for next turn, right? That's what we want to see. Oh, he risked. He risked. We could lotto and win. We have Ultra Ball. The greed. The absolute greed of this man. Come on, Lotto. Don't let me down. 4 DCs in here. Pog. He got greedy. Okay, one more game because that doesn't really count. So far we've had just 2 Passimian attacks to win the game. But the deck is much better at reacting. If we had just benched those Passimian, he would have had 2 extra draws and he would have just, like, not let us donk him. We are much better at reacting. Much better. Ugh, ugly hand. Very ugly hand. At least we can do some stalling tactics. In this case, we don't want to put a card down, even though we could be hit with like a Let Loose or something, because we would rather a Let Loose. That would be a good outcome for us. Okay, we're seeing Buzz Shenanza. The only way they can knock us out is with Beast Energy or with Diancie Kukui. We can't store anything. I think we put a Shrine in, because he could be playing Shrine for sure. I think this is the play. I think we just do this. There's an argument to Lotto just to pull an extra card out of our deck, but if we draw like Cynthia or something, we want to keep these Lottos. They are so important to us. So these only ever provide colorless energy until we're behind, so we just pass. It's honestly a shame that he's bricking too, because this deck is better when people put stuff on the board for us. That's for sure. Ah, here we go. Jirachi, get me out of this mess. Plus. Again, I'm going to hold Lotto. I value it too much just to get an extra, like, 1 card dig. This has to be spent on another Jirachi, I think. Okay. They have Wonder Tag. Okay. So they're not a Buzz Shrine build. Maybe it's just a Buzz Rock that was bricking. Buzz Rock is definitely one of our more awkward matchups. We need to go for early flying flips and into Passimian in the mid game. We can't just go pure flips. We can't just go pure Passimian. Benching stuff's good. No Beast Energy. Happy days. Okay. Another Passimian draw is not bad. We will Stellar Wish number 1. We just take Cynthia here, I think. I do want to Guzma this turn, I think. Oh, as long as we get DC off the Lotto. We're going to Guzma this turn, for sure. We could get extra damage on the Lele, but I think bringing up the Diancie is stronger here. Even though we have banned. Not going to risk going into the other Jirachi. I do like putting down another Passimian, just because they can play Let Loose if they're a... if they're not Buzz Shrine, if they're just Buzz Rock. Let's get our 80 damage in. Start ticking off those boxes, trying to get the numbers working. We threatened the Ditto straight out the gate. He's going to continue to bench stuff, which is nice. Chooses to attach to the bench. He has rope. Okay. So he's capped at 50. Do I just bring up the other Jirachi? He could still have Kukui. Haven't played a supporter. If I bring up Passimian, I have to pay retreat, which sucks. Let's bring up this. Cynthia is not Kukui, but they could still find... Oh no, they can't find Beast Energy because they've attached already. They're actually going to go Lycanroc so they can take a prize this turn on either of these. Yep. He pretty much had to evolve the Ditto, I guess. Wow, he's very Lycanroc heavy, huh? Oh, maybe this is just a Lycanroc deck. Maybe he plays both Lycanrocs. The new one and the old one. That's a little bit scary for us when we only play 8 energy and one's already gone. So, go into Jirachi and try and get something like Counter Catcher or Guzma. Isn't the worst, but we don't have it guaranteed, which is scary. I think Flying Flip's good here. We never want to miss Flying Flips. That's the only awkward thing about the Jirachi. It's not great until we just guarantee it to retreat with. Do this stuff. I'm gonna Choice Band the active and retreat into the bench this turn. Oh no, I should Choice Band here. Spread our threats. Counter Catcher is nice for sure. Is he likely to play Acerola? He might play multi-switch anyway. Let's just continue to bring this up. Retreat into this one. Want to get the use out of counter energy while we can. It is so vital. Well, he's filled up his board, and there's 2 GXs on here, and Shrine's starting to do work, so maybe we are just going for a Flip Fiesta game. The threat of a Passimian makes him sort of get attackers on the board, I guess. He's going to get rid of Shrine Band number 1. We've seen 1 Escape Rip so far, no Guzma's played yet. He has lots of switching options. Also DCEs in the deck, for sure. There's Guzma. He wants the other Koko. That's fair enough. Okay, going down to a no hand. But he's getting a Lycanroc. And getting a knockout. Oh, he wants the one with counter energy for some reason. Okay. I'd rather him kill this one. So 2 counter energies gone, so I need to be a little more careful about using them now because we want to still have one for our Jirachi. Oh, sorry, for our what should we call it? Fairy Lele, Psychic Lele. I'll get there eventually. Still early in the day. So we'll get this back. We're doing 3, 6, 9, 12, 13. It's going to take a lot for us to get to a Passimian knockout. So we're going to Ultra Ball away Jirachi. And I think Gladion goes here. Yep. We're going to go for another flip this turn and have the Passimian threatening still. Especially because now he's at like a 1-card hand. It seems pretty good. We finally hit Escape Board so we can get Jirachi working next turn, as he's just going to keep claw slashing through us. Let's see what his prize and top deck brings him. We hope it's just him announcing claw slash. That's good. Now we can go Jirachi at last. It is just a small package compared to like a Zapdos deck, which also plays switches and stuff, so it's not hugely surprising that we're not getting full use out of it. I'm going to Ultra Ball these away. I think we just grab another Koko here. We're looking to pull Lotto out of our Stellar Wish, or a stronger supporter than Kukui. Well, stronger supporter sounds good. Second chance to roll for energies. Nice, nice. Shrine as well is awesome. 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14 gets us to a flying flip away. So we just flying flip again here. $240, $310, $390, $470, $530. That's a lot of damage to play around with. They're going to continue to Ultra Ball. They can like and rock up Jirachi if they want to, but also knocking out our energy is just probably the best thing for him here, to be honest. Wow, okay. He's going to continue to allow us to flip. He has no energies still on his board, so the Psychic Lele is going to be pretty devastating. If we just take the Passimian knockout, he has Sledgehammer, so we want to just do this. We want to be holding counter energy because it's, you know, what we want next turn for sure. There's the Lele. So we can just flying flip one more time. You can Claw Slash, and here's where we get creative. Shrine is taking 2 prizes for us straight away. But we have game. There's plenty of damage for us to swap around. Yep, he knows. He knows. We had more than enough damage there to win the game. So that's going to be it. We didn't see any Muck. We didn't see any Zoroark or Pikarom, so not quite the feast that we were after, or Lost March. But it does show the versatility of Passimian. Obviously, facing a lot of non-GX decks does get a little bit squeaky at times, because we don't have the added help of Shrine damage, and they can just have an army of attackers against us. I think the Gladiion's a change that I definitely should have had in to begin with, but we've made it now, so please forgive that. I think the Lotto is a really useful card, though. You can see how often we're trying to Stellar Wish into that card, because it's so important to attack with, like, turn by turn. So I do think the Lotto at a high count is still very important. But that's my list, guys. Let me know what you guys think of it, and how the games went and all that stuff. Where do you think Passimian Koko sits? Is it a very high tier contender? Is it still, you know, on the lower tier, but a good counter deck to the format in the right metagame? I'm not so sure just yet. I do think there's a lot of good perks to the deck, though, and it's definitely fun to play now that we have Stellar Wish to guide us through the turns here and there. We could also consider adding in more Switch cards. As you saw, I wasn't getting many usages out of the Jirachi because we're not playing physical Switch in the deck. We're just playing the Escape Boards. So if you want to go down a heavier Jirachi route, you can try and work in some spaces there as well. That's it for today, though, guys. I hope you did enjoy, and I'll see you tomorrow for another Team Up deck. Cheers.